Can we talk about something that is pissing me off today?
Sure.
Bradley, I don't know if you have this Debbie Wasserman Schultz clip.
Oh, Jesus.
But
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, I know. I guess, yeah, she's still around. Rashida Tlaib recently said the obvious, which is that, like, there's a contradiction between being a strong progressive and supporting Israel in apartheid state. She didn't say that bluntly. She said it more couched. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz and a whole bunch of other Democrats that, frankly, take apartheid money to campaign on from Democratic Majority for Israel or AIPAC, have been saying things like this. Debbie Wasserman Schultz here. The outrageous progressive litmus test on Israel by Rashida Tlaib is nothing short of anti-Semitic. Proud progressives do support Israel's right to exist as a Jewish and democratic state. Suggesting otherwise is shameful and dangerous. Divisive rhetoric does not lead to peace. Now, I just want to break down one part of that, which is he says, as a Jewish and democratic state. Now, Bradley, I don't know if you could find this on National Review, but John Kerry, back in the Obama administration, basically pointed out that that is a contradiction of terms. You can't you can't have one state that is Jewish and democratic. There's a contradiction, and you need to give Palestinians full citizen rights, or that's apartheid. And that's why different groups like Amnesty International that frankly would be hesitant to use such a label are using that label for Israel right now. And so you simply cannot, when you say somebody, and yeah, here's this John Kerry article, and this was something the National Review was really upset about, but
that's awesome. I didn't even remember
Kerry to Israel, state cannot be both Jewish and democratic. And scroll down a little bit, Bradley.
It's like saying it's like saying a just and liberal ethno state. I mean, how is that possible?
In the context of claiming that Israel policy was leading to a one state or perpetual occupation, which is frankly a better term than a one state. You moved it, Bradley.
Oh, sorry.
1 second. It was leading toward a one state or perpetual occupation, Kerry admonished. If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both. So John Kerry, not a radical. And that is just simple reality. And that's why you're seeing places like Amnesty International have to recognize that simple reality, because basically if you're not a Zionist Jew in that area, you are put in an open air prison often and have your population basically closely guarded and starved so your demographics aren't so troubling. And Chantel Brown, another person, came in and said, I echo my colleagues, being progressive and supporting the Jewish democratic state of Israel. You could call it a Jewish democratic state, that's one label for it, or it's an apartheid state of Israel are far from mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand. These comments do not speak for the overwhelming majority of us who identify with both. And Chantel Brown identifies with both because she got a whole bunch of this apartheid money to beat Nina Turner in her race. The Democratic Majority for Israel was all over her race and all over smearing Nina Turner. So this is a problem within the Democratic Party. Obviously, I think you should generally vote for Democrats over Republicans because Republicans are lock, stock, and barrel in support of basically what Chantel Brown is here. But they are trying to Corbinize. They're trying to attack the people who are standing with Palestine. And it's for apartheid, and it needs to be stood up against, and everybody needs to reject it.
And when you say a Jewish state of Israel, and if you claim that that state is democratic, then what that necessitates is that there are not Palestinian members and Muslim people, non-Jewish people in the state of Israel. So you are de facto supporting a one-state solution in which Israel is the oppressor of the Palestinian people outside of its borders, and that Palestinians remain second-class citizens. I mean, just such good points by you, Matt.
Definitely. And I think, part of that equation with getting people to recognize Israel as an apartheid state is part of getting people to recognize that just in the West generally, what is supposed to be a bastion of rationality, we have a lot of carve outs for people who don't deserve democratic rights. For a cultural paradigm that people are constantly defending for its rationality and its justness. Throughout our history, we've just not afforded equal rights to large swaths of our population for very arbitrary reasons, only to either give them those rights in the future and then continue to roll them back, and then pretend like we don't necessarily ever pretend like we grappled with that legitimately within our culture. And I think, we're just used to making these kinds of excuses for populations in power for when they oppress ethnic minorities in their country, or ethnic minorities. If you criminalize the population, that helps too, because we do it here. We strip voting rights from people. We deny citizenship to people who deserve it. And even when we do give citizenship to people, we treat them as second-class citizens. And we're just taught that that does not implicate the ability for us to, tout the fairness and rationality and better, and like how much better on a hierarchy of like global ideologies, Western cultural hegemony is. Even though it's like, every time you look, it's like, well, we have equal rights in our constitution, but like ex-criminals can't vote in this country. People who don't have ID can't vote in some places. It's just a shit show.
I want to just highlight here that in that Chantel Brown tweet you were showing, she was actually quote tweeting Congresswoman Grace Ming, who I'm a constituent of. And the opening line in her tweet, because she's also someone who's received a lot of money from like AIPAC, Jews are the most targeted religious community in the United States. Can you imagine saying that sentence in response to a Muslim woman? I mean, no, in fact, we know, but it's just a fact that Muslim people are more targeted by far than any other religious group by the simple fact of it's the U.S. government who's been responsible for that targeting. We didn't put law enforcement spies in synagogues.
Yeah, following people into synagogues. Yep.
Yeah, we didn't have we didn't close the borders to people coming from Israel or people who are just Jewish. No, that's not at all. We did that to people who are Muslim, though. We did that to mosques. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break.
And just an article from 3rd September. This is the BBC, not exactly a radical publication. Israel rules say West Bank visitors must declare love interest. Foreigners must tell the Israeli Defense Ministry if they fall in love with a Palestinian in the occupied West Bank, according to new rules. If they marry, they will be required to leave after 27 months for a cooling off period of at least half a year. It is part of a tightening of rules on foreigners living in the West living in or wanting to visit the West Bank. One expert says this is about demographic engineering of Palestinian society and isolating Palestinian society from the outside world. And that's just simple. And so let me be a little bit provocative. One word for this is Zionist. Another word is Jim Crow Jews. And that's what you're seeing in Israel right now. And anyone supporting that it's the same way Southern Democrats were supporting Jim Crow when we were doing the New Deal. And so maybe you can have progressives that support Jim Crow South and the New Deal? Well, I guess we could. And that's a situation where we're at now with the Democrats. So I guess we have some nominally progressive people who might take, I guess, some interesting votes, although that's not demonstrated for me with Chantel Brown's voting record. But those people are basically the Jim Crow New Dealers, but just for Israel.
And Debbie Wasserman Schultz has made a major point to say that incumbents need to be supported in races for the Democratic primary races, and yet people like her and Nancy Pelosi have no problem throwing Muslim members under the bus for speaking and bringing their experience as Muslim Americans, particularly Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, to their representation of their constituents, which is literally their job in speaking truth on the oppression of Palestinians. Like, being anti-Zionist, we don't need to say it, but we should. Being anti-Zionism is not being anti-Jew or anti-Semitic. Zionism is a settler colonial movement that oppresses Palestinian people. And backing it and continuing to do so is a stain on your legacy and is it's a racist position.
The only people that think all Jews support Israel are people who don't know Jews.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Right.